So today we're going to talk about everybody's favorite evil mega corporation from the Judge Dredd universe, Disney, and Strange New World, this latest turd they laid at the box office over the holiday weekend. So this coming to us from Variety. Disney Strange World set to lose $100 million in its theatrical run, and that's actually low. I've read estimates closer to $140 million loss overall. Let's talk about this. My spoilers here going forward. I'll probably be talking about details of the movie. So if you haven't seen the movie, and for God help you, some reason you want to, go ahead and pause the video now, go see the movie, and after you've watched it, you can come back and see the video and my thoughts. So Stranger Worlds gonna lose a just ton of money. Going back to the article, Disney Strange New World bombed at the box office for Thanksgiving, leaving the studio to mop up oceans, mountains, and terrains of red ink. Ugh. The animated feature debuted theatrically behind expectations with $11.9 million box office total. Can you imagine a mainstream Disney animated family movie released over Thanksgiving holiday weekend only making $11.9 million? Those numbers are simply abysmal. And, that's kind of what I want to talk about this movie a little bit. Because the interesting thing isn't just that they put out a movie and it failed, because that seems to be Disney's stock and trade now, is they put out movies and they fail. Now, the interesting things here are, one, the marketing leading up to this movie, the movie itself, and then the lack of fallout when it comes to this movie. Those are the three things that I want to focus on. So first, let's talk about the marketing. So if you were to see the marketing of this movie, it basically came in two forms. One, they really pushed the idea that we are getting the first gay lead character in a Disney movie. And no, we're not. We've had gay characters in Disney movies before. We all saw Raya. We kind of look a little bit sideways at Elsa from Frozen. We had LeFou in Beauty and the Beast. They're over and over. We've seen gay characters in Disney. So, it's not that we don't appreciate the representation, because, it's great. Like I always say, representation is a good thing when it comes to media. It makes the world feel more lived in and more reflective of the world that we live in. But you don't get to lead with that when you've been doing it for a while. So I don't think that had the box office draw that they were anticipating it would. It wasn't as big a news as they thought. And the character himself isn't really the lead character. This is kind of a family. The movie centers around a family. So he's a character in the family. And, they all have their own stories and everything that they go through in the movie. And then when it comes to this kid and his relationship, he's got a crush on a boy that he knows. But it's just kind of like his side thing, and it's similar to Violet from The Incredibles. She had a crush on a boy. She talks about it a bit during the movie, and then by the end of the movie, she asks him out. That's the exact same story for this kid. He's got this kid that he's got a crush on, and he talks about it way more than you would think, because it does get brought up a lot. Just, hey, I've got this boy that I like in my class, and everybody just kind of cheers for him and gives him a little bit of advice. And it's kind of like, this is an odd thing that we're talking about when we're in this odd subterranean adventure trying to save our planet, that we're talking about this boy you have a crush on, which they talked about a lot. That's what made the story just kind of feel shoehorned. It wasn't natural. It's not like it came up a couple of times and then resolved at the end of the movie. It was throughout. They made it that way just to feature it as much as they possibly could, even when it didn't really fit what was going on in the rest of the movie. So it was very just kind of shoehorned. So you had that. That's the first part of the marketing. Second part of the marketing is everybody was just talking about, well, if the right-wing conservatives didn't like Lightyear, then they're really going to hate Strange New World, and this movie is just going to upset all of the conservatives out there. And okay, if you lead with that, they won't go see your movie, and they didn't. Do you not want these people to buy tickets? Do you not want their money? Do you not want as many people into the theaters as possible? Because Disney's new strategy of just trolling their audience doesn't seem to be working. They did the same thing with She-Hulk. This is really going to just upset all the toxic pleb trolls on social media, and that's what we're going to do. And, so they didn't watch it. And then a lot of the other people just kind of said, I really don't want to see this weird kind of online hate war just put into my TV show. So they ignored it. So who really is your audience here? You're just kind of putting things out to upset people, that you're not going to get ticket sales. Is that still your goal? Is Disney's goal not to try to get people to consume their product? Do they just want to put something out there that's going to get a bunch of hate clicks and call it a day? Okay, if that's what you want to do. So that's really all you got. I mean, people didn't know a lot about what this movie was going into it. And then after seeing it, I'm almost wondering if that was by design, because this movie's a nightmare. I mean, it's just so bad. So it really, when it comes down to it, the first gay lead to Disney movie, quote unquote, had nothing to do with this movie. It's such a minor facet of the plot. It's not even worth talking about. This movie is ham-fisted, beating you over the head environmental messaging. That's what this movie is. It is the Green New Deal as a piece of fan fiction. It is about a kid who goes on an expedition with his father. He finds a glowing plant. His father ignores the child because his father's just a big toxic male and walks away and gets lost. And the kid takes the glowing plant. We flash forward years later. He's farmed the plant, and it's become the energy source for their entire civilization. And that's kind of been how they've built their entire world around it. But the plant's now starting to lose its efficacy. It's not as effective as it once was. So they want to lead an expedition to go see if they can find what's causing the plant to diminish. That's what takes them into the strange world, this kind of like subterranean, hollow earth theory kind of place. And that's where the bulk of the adventure takes place. And then so it turns out that their planet that they live on is actually a turtle, and they live on its back. And the glowing plant is like a parasite that is killing the turtle, and the humans cultivating it is as they have been, is hurting the turtle further. And so in order to save the turtle, they have to annihilate their own energy source and plunge their people back into the Stone Age. Basically, that's the plot of the movie. So for anyone out there who doesn't have a functioning brain cell, the planet, or the turtle planet, is Earth, and the glowing plant is fossil fuels. And so they really want you to know this, and they could not have made it any less subtle if they were a wrecking ball coming into movie theaters with a Greenpeace logo painted on it. So that's what this movie was. I mean, who is this movie for? Because the thing that I always talk about when you're going to go with a movie that's got an environmental message is the subject of environmentalism and climate change is a very complicated one. It's very complex and has a lot of facets. And yeah, you've got the extremes on either side. You've got the one side of climate change absolutely does not exist. I'm going to run my SUV and spray my aerosol cans into the air all day long. And then on the other side, you've got the we will, even if it means 1 million people die in third world countries, we have to abolish all fossil fuels in the next 17 hours or we're all going to die. Those are kind of the extremes. And then you got everybody in the middle who, we agree that climate change is out there. We agree it's a problem, kind of disagree on what the solution should be, where we should be focused, things like that. There's a lot of opinions out there and a lot of valid criticism on both sides. This movie comes from one of those extremes. I mean, that's where this lives. This is this script was written by a fever dream from a gender studies student at Berkeley College. I mean, it is laughably naive in its storytelling. It is clumsy, clunky, and not subtle at all in its messaging, and it's just turns you off as you're watching it. You just feel like you're being lectured to by a cartoon. That's what this movie is, and that's not really what anybody wants to see in a movie theater, especially a family movie that I'm going to go to over the holiday weekend and take my kids and whoever relatives that are visiting from out of town, and we're going to sit down in here and watch this movie that's just going to hit us with a PSA for 100 minutes or so. I don't know who this was made for. And then that brings me to the third aspect of my problem with this. So we've talked about the advertising. We've talked about the fact that this is just a garbage film. Then you've got the fallout or lack thereof. And this is where Disney, I think, really loses it. It's not like people are going to lose their jobs over this. It's not like they're going to bring in, I'm not talking about just the writers, the people who dreamt this up, because you know what, creators, they have their ideas, they have their inspirations, their stories they want to tell, and their points they want to put out there. If they really want to put out a political message, they're going to do it, and they're going to do it in a story-driven way. But a lot of the time, these creators, they need people to kind of rein them in, to focus them, to get them into the lane of, okay, this is a really cool idea, but how is this going to fit to people, living across the 50 states? How are we going to get this message, and how are we going to get this movie palatable and entertaining for all of those people, while at the same time trying to preserve what it is you're trying to say? And that's where I always look at the higher ups, the executives, the editors, the decision makers, the people who read this script as it was presented and said, you know what, this sounds great. I'm going to go ahead and write you a check for $200 million of my investors' money, and I'm going to let you make this thing, and we're going to put it out in put it in movie theaters across the world, and then we're going to spend even more money to market and advertise this mess. Those are the people who I'm talking about. None of those people are in danger of losing their jobs. None of those people are going to have to stand to account for this stupid mess of how in the world could you allow this to happen. I mean, I could tell by the marketing or lack thereof marketing of this movie that the people who saw this movie knew that it was going to stink. They knew that they had a bomb on their hands, but they felt it was too late to turn around. So what do? They market, well, this is the first gay lead in a Disney movie. This is really going to irritate the right people. And if you don't like it, then you're some kind of bigot. So that's been Disney's marketing strategy for a while now. And it hasn't, as of yet, really given them, any return on investment as far as them trying this, but they keep doing it. They keep trolling their own audience and hope that somehow all of these internet clicks and shares and retweets and everything else will translate into dollars, but it never does. But they keep trying it. It's hilarious to watch. And you just got to kind of wonder, how much money does Disney have that they can stand to lose before they start feeling the pinch from this kind of decision making. And I mean, I just figure at this point, it's kind of like Scrooge's money bin from DuckTales. And until that thing gets 2/3 of the way empty, they're not going to change their strategy. They're not going to change their messaging. They're not going to change their storytelling or movie making approaches. So we still got a ways to go before this starts hitting bottom and they start, re-examining things. And if you think getting rid of Bob Chapek and bringing Bob Iger back is going to be some kind of savior for this company, then no, it's not. I mean, Bob Iger is the guy who he is the architect of modern Disney. He is the guy who started them down this path. Basically, this guy, if you lived in a house, this guy set your house on fire, snuck out the back window, and then showed up with the fire brigade as the fire is being put out and said, hey, I want to live in the house. That's what they did when they brought back Bob Iger. He was not a good hire. So, or at least not if your goal is to change the status quo at Disney and try to get them back onto something resembling track. People always like to say, oh, well, he was there during Marvel's heyday, the Infinity Crisis and all that. But when Disney bought Marvel Studios was a thing. They had already planned their movies to Infinity War and to Endgame. That was their purpose and their mission statement going at the point of purchase. Really, everything Marvel Phase 4, that's been the Disney influence, because that's as far as Marvel Pictures had planned when they were their own entity before Marvel was bought by Disney. Once Disney picked them up and they needed to start putting out movies and story ideas beyond Avengers Endgame, now you're seeing the Disney influence. That's the Bob Iger effect. So Bob Iger gave us the sequel trilogy. I mean, this is the guy who people are pinning their hopes and dreams on. This is the guy who's caused the Disney stock to temporarily get a little bit of a bump before this movie came up and just crashed it right back down to earth. So this is it. This is modern Disney. We welcome to the world. So what did you guys think? Did anybody out there see this movie, or God help you, are you planning to see it? Let's talk in the comments below. If you like the movie, I'd really like to know why. I want to know who the audience of this movie is. I mean, I just figure that, Greta Thunberg on her yacht maybe got a special screening of it. And other than that, I don't know who else would care to watch this movie too much. But let's talk in the comments below. While you're down there, do all the usual stuff. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already a subscriber. I would love to have you here. Hit that like button. It really helps the video just kind of get out in front of more people and helps the channel grow. And I'm going to leave it there. I will see you guys in the next one. Talk to you then. Bye.